This is part 2 of a 2-part video. If you missed part 1, it'll be down in the description below. And make sure to stay tuned for more Purdue basketball content. Enjoy the interview. Oh, awesome hearing more about your story, getting in depth. Let's move to some current Purdue hoops here. What are some of the biggest improvements that you've noticed that just jump out to you from last year's team to this year's team?
Handling ball pressure and confidence. And I think the confidence is probably a little bit more bigger. You get Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer. You get them last year. I get it as freshmen. You don't know what to expect night in, night out. Like, you kind of feel like you got that confidence and that your ego is like, I dominated high school basketball. But now you get here with just, better players. We always say your resume is nice in high school, but you have to prove it. Now everybody's been one of those guys. And I think last times in Purdue, honestly, nobody remembers, like, they wasn't picked to be like top 5 last year. So I think that instant success and just the pressure that at times had the guys a little bit just tight in certain situations, scared to make a mistake and not owning it. Where I think this year getting bounced early and all of those experiences allowed them to come back. Now Braden's like, you're like the sophomore in high school, college, like, you know what to expect. Nothing's new now. And obviously Lance Jones, I think he brought that, I don't want to call him a villain, but kind of that swagger sometimes to embrace, like, hey, it's okay to be the bad guy on the road. And I think traditionally Purdue players, we don't want to be looked as bad, or sometimes, just being a villain on the court. And I think this team has just embraced the big family role, and like, however it goes down, we got each other's back and just the confidence that we belong here.
Yeah, and Lance Jones, I feel like he's really rubbed off on Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, just that confidence. And Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith, they're sophomores, but they had the experience level of a senior at this point. They've been through all the hostile environments, all the close games, and all the ultimate highs of winning the Big Ten championship in the regular season, the tournament, then losing as a 1 seed. So they are truly seasoned players at this point. So yeah, they just have a new confidence and swagger to them. And then the other big thing for me is just the fact that obviously you have the best player in the country in Zach Edey, but now instead of being the 230th best 3-point shooting team, they're the best 3-point shooting team with 7'3" Zach Edey. Like, that's overpowered. And with these improvements, how confident are you that Purdue will make a deep run in the NCAA tournament?
I'm extremely confident. One other thing to piggyback off that, like, Zach Edey is definitely Zach Edey, but I also like that Braden Smith and Lance Jones. And I always joke with him when I see him in person. I don't know how Fletcher Lawyer gets downhill, but somehow he gets downhill off that curl cut screen layup. But I think that's the biggest thing, because last year a lot of the guys on our wings were settling for threes. So when teams were double teaming Zach and we were struggling from the outside, we were just living and dying by the three. But now Braden is hitting that mid range, and Fletcher and Lance and Braden as well. Cam Heidi's doing a good job. They're attacking the rim. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to help us in the tournament, to where last year I would be worried sometimes when the shot clock got down. Can we go get a simple bucket or an easier bucket when threes aren't falling and teams are double teaming Zach?
Yeah, and Braden Smith's made a huge improvement where now you have obviously an elite center in Zach Edey, the best player in the country, elite coach in Matt Painter. Now I say you have an elite point guard in Braden Smith. Well, where do you rank him amongst just the best guards in college basketball?
Oh man, he's top 5 for sure. I think, to me, he's Boo Booey is special. Like, I think Brady's probably the second best point guard in the Big Ten, just because sometimes in a situation which Brady doesn't have to short a lot, there's still that one-on-one creativity sometimes. When the shot clock is down at 10, Brady hit a big shot against Illinois. Love to see that. I think that's his next step in maturation. But I still feel like you give the ball to Boo sometimes, like, you can just literally clear out. They'll go 1-4 flat, and he's able to create. But I would say, just as a winner in the whole, Braden's definitely a top 5 point guard in the country, and probably top 3.
Good deal. Good deal. And do you have any fears with this team? Like, is there any style or team that you'd be worried about Purdue matching up with?
I'm still interested, like a Houston, like just some guards and like the wings is physical and want to get out and run. Like, you still want to see how that style plays, because obviously people are going. Zach Edey's going to be Zach, but what do we do? Maybe if teams are going to be like, hey, these wings have to beat us. That's maybe the only thing I'm worried about. But for the first time in history, Coach Painter's really kind of playing a matchup zone from here and there. So seeing what they did against Illinois, knowing how Illinois likes to get up and down, it was I guess a bonus for me. I know we're going to compete, but it was a bonus seeing that we were able to handle those type of wings.
Do you think there's any team outside of Purdue in the Big Ten that can make a deep run in the tournament?
I like Illinois. I think Illinois can make it with the right matchups. Obviously, if Tom Izzo gets in there, you never know what. It's
Yeah.
just something about Michigan State. I don't know what's going on with you guys right now. I mean, in which honestly, it could be a good thing. Like, I think that team has Final Four potential. And as much as people may be like, man, they lost too many games, you kind of don't want to peak too early sometimes. So it could be a blessing in disguise that
Could be.
actually works out. You know what I mean? Because I remember when we were my junior year, we ran off like 6 straight at the end of the Big Ten, and then we just kind of flattened out by the time the NCAA tournament. So I think those 3 teams. I think Nebraska, the right matchup, could possibly get to a Sweet 16, but Illinois, Wisconsin, and Purdue, I think could actually all make deep runs and end up in the Final Four with the right matchups.
Yeah, for Wisconsin, they just forgot how to shoot the ball, and they're playing really tense and not confident. That to me is their biggest problem. And that's kind of been a trend under Wisconsin over the years. Is like sometimes they just play too tight, they're not flowing. I would say that's their biggest problem. But no, I agree. Illinois, Domask is a difference maker. Obviously, Terrence Shannon's phenomenal, but like I didn't realize how good Domask was until like relatively recently. Like he's really really good. So that's a tough duo. That's a really tough
He's
duo.
really good. Me and Ray had a debate. I think Tyson Walker's special, but at one point when Terrence Shannon had to exit for a while, I thought Domas was probably the number 3 point guard right there behind Braden and Boo Booey because he can do so much and just being 6'6", 6'7", you can get to the post
Yeah.
up and score. You can shoot the 3 ball. Like I'm a big Domas fan.
Yeah. And he against Wisconsin just recently, he went for 30 plus. And they had Wall guarding him. And at first I was like, oh, guard's playing chess out here. Like Wall's a really good defender, can move his feet, 6'9", strong. But Domas just got to where he wanted to at will. I've never seen anybody bully Wall like Domas did. All right, after some technical difficulties, we are back. And Purdue fans, I am going to be covering a lot more Purdue basketball moving forward. It's a blast having Lewis Jackson join us. Like I said, a guy I remember from my childhood watching. And but love to have you subscribe and to stay tuned for more Purdue content moving forward. I think they're due for a deep run. But Lewis, if Purdue does make a deep run, make a Final Four, win a national championship, what would that mean to you to see Matt Painter, get that elusive Final Four championship?
Man, it'd be phenomenal. I think for me and Ray just talked about this earlier. Like, I think fans always like to talk about we get to watch players develop, and I'm a little bit spoiled because I got to be part of one of his first recruiting classes, and I've got to watch my coach actually really develop into a Hall of Fame coach. So to see him get to the Final Four, I think that would be the icing on the cake for his resume. Obviously, you want him to win it, but to get there, just knowing what he went through, obviously coming to Purdue, getting us, having a great run. Me and Raphael joke about it all the time. He always says they were trash his first year, but I remember when people 10 years ago were saying, fire Matt Painter. Like, I remember we didn't know if Coach Painter was going to have a job. I remember the scare he might go to Missouri and take a job. So to see what he started with the program and now where he's had it, just NBA prospects and just where Purdue is now, it would mean the world to me because not only is my coach, he's a really good friend. So just to be able to watch coach and see what he's doing with Purdue, it would mean the world and being a part of the alumni. It would finally be good to say we got a Final Four appearance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talked briefly about it before, but the TBT, are you going to make a return this summer?
I'm debating. I don't know right now. I kind of want to get on the coaching side. I feel like I need to separate, but I just found out that we're playing in Butler this year, and I still got a little itch out there. I've been waiting on one of these young guys to kind of just humble me, maybe get out there and be like, I don't belong. So I think I'm leaning more toward playing one more year.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, how about we get the old band back together? Like we got Robbie Hummel playing, but where's there's so much firepower from Purdue that's not in the NBA right now. Can you explain? Like I got a list. Carson Edwards, Vince Edwards, Haas, Matthias, and then from your era, Juwan Johnson, Etuan Moore. It's always confuses me because like this happens at so many alumni teams in the TBT. It's like you get the chance to compete for the $1 million, but you're with all your old friends. You're on national TV again. It seems like a pretty good gig to me. Why can't So for you guys, why can't we get this firepower, or can we get this firepower
I'm
this
with
summer?
you. We're working on it. I think a little bit of his timing, and especially in certain people's careers. Like Dakota was close to playing last year, and then his agent does tell him like, "Hey, you got a chance to make it to the league." I know he worked out with the Warriors, and I want to say he worked out with Memphis. Carson kind of in the same boat. And I just think for those guys that's a little bit younger, when you're 25, 26, you're still kind of, you know what I mean? Like you're still trying to figure out your career if you're not set in the NBA. So I think timing wise, that's why it doesn't work with those guys. Hopefully this year, I'm lobbying for it that we can get a few of those guys to come out. Etwan, obviously, he's 10 years plus in the NBA. This is his really second year being retired, possibly. You kind of hitting him possibly. Jawan is just still playing overseas. So his thing is like, man, I only get a couple weeks. So you get him. But we're trying to convince him. And I think the TBT has done a great job now. Marketing is not just looked at just like, whatever, you're playing for money. Like you've seen guys actually get call ups. You've seen guys, actually get a boost in their career in a sense if they're not being seen. So I think it's a little bit more enticing. And I just
Yeah.
think you got to get guys there. I call it grown man AAU. Like you said, you're back with your alums, but you run into so many talented players, and it's like you just got to get guys to experience it once, and I think you can get them to do it. But just a little bit of timing. But I'm working on it.
All right, good deal. That's what I want to hear. I want to see your Purdue era, man. That'd be awesome to see you, Robbie, Juwan Johnson, Etwan Moore. I'd love to see that. And then there's a lot of guys recently who'd be really good as well. So yeah, keep working on it. We love to see it. And then last round I got for you. Thank you so much for your time, Lewis. It's just a rapid fire round. I'll give you a bunch of questions and you can answer in a timely fashion. Sound good?
Okay, here we go.
All right. Who has the best home court advantage in the Big Ten outside of Purdue?
Michigan State.
Toughest
Coastal
individual
close.
Cole Center?
Oh, listen, it is something about, listen, the fans, when you guys are rocking, and it's literally cold in there. Like, we always joke, like, you don't get anything done in shoot around. With long sleeves, sweatpants, like, but when the Kohl Center is rocking, the Kohl Center is right up there with Michigan State.
I think you're thinking of the Cole Center from like 2010 because it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's not anymore. I'm just gonna say objectively, like
Okay.
it's see, here's the problem. You had a bunch of like ticket holders get grandfathered in when the arena was built in like 1998. So time goes by and they get older, and like each year they get older and older and older, and they get more tame. And now you get yelled at if you stand up. So
That sucks.
yeah, but back in the day,
Yeah.
it did rock. But toughest individual matchup you've ever faced?
Steph Curry. Yeah, Steph Curry.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the toughest loss in college that you experienced?
Ooh. I honestly think toughest loss, VCU to get to the Sweet 16 my junior year. Yeah, that's the toughest loss. VCU with the upset. Yeah.
Funniest teammate you had at Purdue?
Marcus Green. Marcus Green.
Best
Yeah.
best teammate you've ever had?
That's tough.
Okay.
Oh. I'm gonna put them three together because they all admit something special to me. Etwan, Rob, and Jawan. They all, especially for me as a freshman, they all did something special to help me grow, and they were there for me. So it's those three together.
Awesome. Favorite Purdue player you've watched since you finished up your Boilermaker career?
Carson Edwards,
Favorite player growing up?
Allen Iverson,
Dogs or cats?
Dogs,
Good answer. Favorite holiday?
Christmas,
Favorite food?
my mom's spaghetti.
Knees weak, arms are heavy.
Yeah, legit.
Favorite movie?
He got game.
Favorite city you've ever visited?
Toronto.
Biggest pet peeve?
That's a good one. Biggest pet peeve. Put me on the spot with that one. That was a good one. I don't know. I gotta come back to that one. That's a good one right there.
All right. Favorite musical artist?
Damn. Lil Wayne. Let's go Lil Wayne.
Okay. And then last question, we'll revisit the pet peeve question. What game do you look back most fondly of at your time at Purdue?
Most fondly, I would say Michigan State, my junior year on the road. Me, Etwan, and Jawan were the only ones to score in the second half, and I
Oh
think I
wow.
ended up with like 19, and we beat Michigan State pretty bad. And that was when like everybody's like, "Yo, he's a rock." And Dan Dockage, shout out to Dan Dockage, but he said it on there. He's like he had to stand corrected. He thought I was a mid-major guard, but I deserved to be in the upper echelon of guards in the Big Ten.
Awesome. All right. Biggest pet peeve.
Biggest pet peeve, when people say, "Why me? Why not you?"
Awesome. All right. That is Lewis Jackson. Lewis, thank you so much for your time. Had a blast talking with you, and I'm looking forward to staying connected along the way.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.